And we're live.
Hi everyone, welcome back to JPWHUTV. This is John, your host as always. We've got a very special guest on tonight. If you watch the American Hammers channel on YouTube, you'll recognize this guy. He's been on a lot, but I've been able to grab him for probably a very long, quick conversation. He's currently sitting in Seattle Airport, so it's going to be some interesting background noises, everyone. Guys, this is Scott Davis from the Denver branch of the family, I suppose one way you put it. Scott, how you doing this evening, mate? Well, this afternoon for your end.
This afternoon, it's lunchtime here in Seattle. I'm doing really, really well. I'm also blowing into my mic. I'll stop doing that. It's an awesome day. It's a beautiful day here in Seattle. Yeah, I'm part of the Mile High Hammers Club, group of people who got together for the last few years. Great people. Some folks directly out of Hornchurch and out of Canningtown, and some people out of all over the U.S. Personally, I'm Canadian, so we've come with all branches.
So before we go into the main crux of the conversation, I just need to do a quick shout out to the sponsor, 3retro.com. Please click the link in the description below that will take you directly through to the West Ham section of their website, where you can purchase retro kits from the 60s all the way through to the early 2000s, including this kit, which is where I bought this shirt from their retro site as well. But the 60s all the way through to the early 2000s, including also the 1976 home kit and 1980 FA Cup final Wembley kit that inspired this coming season's kits. I mean, it's not really that coming season. It's around the corner. It's literally 3 weeks away. There's also Admiral and Umbro track jackets, polo shirts, T-shirts, and sweatshirts. So go check those out. They're all West Ham inspired. Got some great stuff on there. If you do make any purchases, the first 20 purchases will be going directly to the Bradley Lowry Foundation for Isla's Fight. And also but guys, the prices on there are exactly the same as normal. There'll just be a little bit of a commission. As I said, for the first 20 purchases will be going straight forward to this. So far as I know, there's only been one made so far. So guys, start shopping, get your retro kits, and let's give that good cause some good money. Right. So Scott, as you briefly touched on, let's talk about what you said first. Explain how the Mile High Supporters Group started.
Sure. There's a couple of us who've been online for quite some time. I've been cheering for West Ham for 15 years or so, and there wasn't a great deal of interaction between the fans here in the city. There's myself and a few other people who are fans, and we would get together now and then, watch a game. Actually, we went to the Boleyn and would watch a match more often than we get together and watch it on TV. Several years ago, a guy named Jeremiah Carson, who's living up about an hour north of me, he hooked me up with the North Colorado or NOCO Irons, and we tried to do some stuff. We tried to get together as a few of us, and it kind of never worked out. His weekends are bad. I had small children at the time. My wife's a runner, so she would train on Saturday morning, so we never really got going together. About a year and a half ago, a woman named Gina reached out to me on Twitter and said, "How come you get to have Denver West Ham as your Twitter handle?" She was being that graciously kind of, "Who the heck are you? Why do you have that handle? Because we want that handle," which was great. You got to know her and a bunch of the other folks there. And in the end, she said, "Well, look, we're getting together at the Three Lions, which is a world football pub in Denver. Come on down." Now, Three Lions in Denver was a really great pub. World Cup finals.
I absolutely, as an England supporter, mate, I absolutely love that name. That is perfect. Absolutely perfect.
I'm going to crush your soul because the story doesn't end well, unfortunately. Went there and watched England playing, went and watched Italy playing in the World Cup finals, Champions League finals, getting out there, getting together on occasion. Gina invites me down. I go down there at 6 o'clock in the morning, my time, for a kickoff at 3 o'clock your time or 1 o'clock your time. And just great kids, got to know them a bit. Charlie is there. Charlie is from Canningtown originally. Ben and a bunch of other kids who've been over to watch West Ham in the Boleyn and in the Olympic Stadium. It was great. Good kids. About a year into it, we had watched a match on a Saturday. Sunday afternoon, we've got a group chat on one of the infinite number of instant messaging services we use. And Gina goes, "Three Lions is shut." And right after they did the matches on the Saturday, they closed the doors, locked it, ripped all the memorabilia down. So all the scarves, all the flags, all the pictures, banners, badges, everything. And they had a lot. It was all gone. And as a result,
what was the cause of that?
They weren't making enough money. They decided to become a regular sports bar,
Right.
which
Okay.
really sucked. So they've reopened as something sports bar, and you can get your generic beer and watch American baseball there. Uh, Gina, who is kind of the life and the soul behind the Mile High Hammers, started phoning pubs all over the place. There's another pub not too far along called the British Bulldog. Uh, it's more of a Man U pub, and a couple other teams are there, and they tend to kind of fill it out. It wasn't really necessarily a good place. Well, she reached out to a place called Celtic on Main or Celtic on Market, and the gentleman who runs the place is Irishman, loves his cricket, loves his horse racing, is running horse betting legally, out of his bar, and said, I'll open up for you. And we showed up. I think the first Saturday we showed up, it was a 7 o'clock a.m. match, and he was hoping to get 5 or 6 people in there. We had a dozen, and several other clubs showed up because they heard that a bar would open and do this for us. And it was great, and they've really opened it up. There's kind of a section now that's kind of ours downstairs for the final day. We've got memorabilia up on the wall. We had a flag made. They're doing well with us being there. We're doing great by them. The Noel, the owner, has just been amazing to like open up, frankly, his bar to us. Best one ever was Tottenham at 5:30 in the morning. Can't even serve beer yet. He's not legally allowed to serve till 7 a.m. But one of his guys came down, opened up the bar. We all gathered around, had a coffee, and at 7 o'clock we started buying beer. And certainly enjoyed that morning. The 1-0 win against Tottenham certainly made my day. In the end, we've ended up with scarves, pins, and stuff. We got some great people, very passionate fans. I'm getting some new people in. Nick Stamper, I believe, has a friend who's moving out from Florida. She doesn't know anybody in Denver, but she goes, "Well, you guys are football people," and she's going to come out and hang out with us now, I guess. So that's kind of thing I like it. Very family, very community, great people. Cupcakes, beer, it's great. What else could you ask for at 7 o'clock in the morning?
Oh, mate, well, 100%. Maybe a very nice greasy burger, but other than that, yeah, agreed, 100%. West Ham football and booze. That's all. That's all you need.
That is exactly it. It's West Ham, and we're drinking beer in Guinness at 7 in the morning, which excites the locals a lot. Anyways,
so just backing up a little bit on there, mate. How, because obviously you said that you're Canadian, and so I'm guessing that by the time you got into the US, that's when you started following football properly. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot easier in the U.S. I grew up in Northern Canada, and we'd get 2 matches a year on radio delay. Liverpool versus Man U, Man U versus Liverpool, and honestly, that is all the football we got. And I'd listen to it on radio. It'd be about 7 o'clock in the evening. As a little kid, you'd hear these voices describing a game that I kind of understood. It seemed very simple. And we also had a bunch of Dutch kids around us. A bunch of people from Southampton post World War II had moved over to where I was at. Some German folks, and we played soccer as kids. It was great. But the age of 20, I got married. My wife and I, the first thing we did when we got our first place together is I had to get cable TV because the World Cup was on that year in 1990. And hey, that kind of got me addicted. It was the first time I really saw football on TV in the U.S. I'm sure it'd been on before, but really it was the first time you saw world-class football. And every now and then you get a match. You get FA Cup matches now and then. But in the last 5 or 6 years, NBC, one of the major providers of television here, has all the matches on. So I can watch every single match on NBC. Some of them aren't on live on TV. They've got several channels. Some of them are on the internet, like you can watch them on your laptop, and it costs a bit of money. But it's a heck of a lot less than it would be for me to fly over and watch every match. So for me, it's great. I'm spoiled. I probably watch West Ham more than a lot of people who actually live in London get a chance to, because I never have to worry about whether or not I can get a ticket. I can just flick on my laptop and watch the match in the morning.
Exactly. So how did West Ham find you? What drew you to the club?
Sure. So obviously, as a kid, I had two choices of clubs. I had Liverpool or Man U, and I chose Man U as a kid. And it wasn't until I was quite a bit older I went, well, these guys got to play somebody else. And I started researching, going, oh my gosh, here's a league. You learned about the teams. I had a really good friend named Pete, and he and I had to go to London. And he said, do you want to go to a football match? And I said, sure. Who do you watch? And he starts talking about West Ham. And I kind of knew who West Ham was. Turns out that he had a friend in the ticket office. So for a sold out match at the Boleyn on Remembrance Day. We got 2 tickets right beside the director's box, and I was hooked. I mean, one of the people who was there, we got the tickets a couple of days beforehand, and he said, "Oh, well, do you want to walk down on the pitch?" So we walked on the grass. We sat in the manager's chairs and stuff, and took pictures. Went into the studio area where they interview the managers after the match and got some great pictures. It was a lot of fun. And then we actually didn't lose. We actually tied Villa 1-1 that day. I was hooked. I'm completely addicted. I loved the club. And then afterwards, of course, Pete and I would go out and hit the pub. We went to the Black Lion and then ended up at the Victoria Tavern. And the Vic Tavern was an interesting experience for a match after several hours. Some people were rather liquid, but they were great. They just treated me like family, right? It was around Remembrance Day, and they had the poppies, the poppy pins with the Hammers logo on it. And I said, "Oh, that'd be great to get one." And the guy just took it off his coat and said, "Here, take this." And I still have it. It's in my case at home. I'm going to treasure that thing as long as I live. I so appreciated that. Met a young man there that night, a very interesting young man named Baz Cox, and I didn't really realize that until several years later that I met Baz that night. It was only a couple of years ago that I went, "Holy crap, I know who you are." So it was a lot of fun. And every time I've been over, if I go to a match, if Pete's there, it's great. We've got his mates to hang out with some other folks. I've started going a lot more on my own last few years. Pete's off doing something else now, and I don't get to go with him. I can go into the Black Lion. I can go into the Vic Tavern. I can go to Carpenter's Arms and a couple other places. Even the official supporter club bar. I can walk in, and even if I don't know a lot of people well, I kind of know a few people, but that kind of doesn't matter because typically I don't end up talking with the people who I think I would talk to. I end up hanging out and just meeting new people. Great example is I was telling you beforehand how I ran into Dave Walker at the pre-match event that he and X did before Chelsea. Dave Walker's a foot taller than me, so Dave walks over and gives me a hug, and I got a lot of Dave boob in the face. But after that, I just had people walking over me, talking to me, having a beer with me. I love the family nature of the people from West Ham. Just great people, like really honest, amazing people.
Definitely.
Have I answered your question yet? Have I answered your question?
A little bit, yeah. Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right, mate. I mean, for me, we'll come on to the. This leads in very nicely into the next question I want to ask you. For me, I was born and raised in a West Ham family. I'm fourth generation. I was born on the day that we beat Arsenal in the FA Cup final in 1980. Literally a couple of hours later. So the West Ham connection's always been there, but I didn't really get to go to the Boleyn until actually 2006. Funny enough,
Okay.
was my first ever. I mean, due to loads of stupid family reasons more than anything else, but my first ever game was Macclesfield at home in the Capital One Cup. That's how long ago that was.
Was that the slaughter of 8-0 or something like that? Or
no, what that was we won it 3-1 or 4-1 at the end, but it was 1-1 at full time. It was an awful game to sit through. Noble was shocking. Guys, if you want to get more information about that, check out jpwhutv.co.uk because that website is now up and running, and there's now a bio section in there as well. So I'm not going to repeat all the stuff because it's difficult to ramble on about that. But it was an awful game, but it was just around the corner from where my grandparents used to live, so I knew the area well, I knew the sort of people well. I loved the banter that was being sung around. I loved the songs that were being sung. Just the atmosphere in general for a League Cup game. It was brilliant, and same with you, mate. I was just 100% hooked, and I've ever since I became a season ticket holder in the 2009-2010 season. So basically over the last almost 10 years, I've only missed 4 games. But
wow,
yeah.
So that's amazing. When Pete and I would come over, because tickets at the Boleyn were a little bit sparse, that you couldn't just get a ticket whenever. We ended up going to more matches at the Boleyn that year than quite a few of his friends who lived not far from Upton Park. And they're like, "Bloody hell, you guys are better home fans than we are, and you live in Denver, Colorado." So I've got a question for you, specifically because you brought up chants. Now so obviously anybody listening to this goes, Canadian accent. somebody needs to print off the words for the chants. I've been going for however many years now, and there's still sometimes when you guys are singing stuff, I'm going, can somebody translate? And there's a couple. There was one Saturday morning when my youngest was in the room, and the chant about how lovely East London was came up, and I had to explain what I had to explain tits and fanny to my then 7-year-old son. It's like, well, body parts, buddy. It's all good. His mother was not impressed.
That reminds me of a story a mate of mine told me recently. He's a Millwall supporter, but other than that, he's a good bloke. That he took his little brother to a game a few years ago, and he came home saying that he'd learned a new song, and so his mum said,
no,
what did you learn? He said, you're gay and your mum's a whore, coming out from a 7-year-old.
So the first away match I went to was Norwich away years ago, and we're shouting across the Norwich fans, "You're shagging your sister!" Right now, I'm at the very back. I'm at the very back of the away end, or the away stands, and I had a huge English copper put his hand on my shoulder and go, "Sir, you need to watch your language." And I'm, what's going on here? What had happened is he'd heard my accent, and he thought, well, I've got to take the piss out of this guy. Whoever sounds American, Canadian American, to him, same thing. It was the first time I was actually afraid of being arrested at a football match. So I had the full experience of the joy of losing 3-1 to Norwich away because we looked like shit. Jumped a train illegally to get back to London. It was great. Got the full experience. Maybe things not to admit.
So going back to the bowling, out of the games that you've been there, what was your most favourite memory?
It's hard to beat that first match. That it was a 1-1 draw against Aston Villa, and my wife has a cousin who's a huge Villa fan, and she was livid that she couldn't get there as an away supporter. It was just the people, the sounds. North Americans don't get how tribal football is until you're in it. I took a friend of mine a couple of years ago to his first match, and he just sat there and he said just the energy of the crowd kind of resounded in his chest and in his heart. He said, "This is a bit terrifying." I went, "Yeah, it is." It was a lot of fun. I think probably my favorite match ever. We beat QPR 3-1, and it wasn't much of a game. Ender Valencia and Sacco both scored that day, and it was just one of those days where we looked great. And it was I'd never had a lot of success at the Boleyn. I saw us lose a lot at the Boleyn. That was probably my favorite game because that is the one that we won. Everybody should have been asking me not to go to matches because we either drew against a terrible club or lost terribly when at the Boleyn, except for QPR.
Yes, I know what you mean, mate. You do kind of sometimes feel like a jinx. I mean, that's how I felt right since I started supporting West Ham, because at the end of the day, as I said, I was born on the day we last won the FA Cup. We've done fuck all since, apart from the Intertoto run we had with Redknapp, and finishing pretty much fourth in the 85-86 season. We've pretty much done nothing. We've been relegated. We've been the yo-yo club from the top two divisions for 30 years. I'm starting to take it a bit personal, to be honest with you.
And to be fair, about the time that you started getting into it is about the time a lot of people in the US talk about it. Like they talk post FA Cup they talk probably kind of 85 to 90. And they have very much the same vision you do. It's like, when is this club going to win a match or win a trophy or win something or show up? So you're not alone. Worldwide, it's a problem.
I know, mate, but as I say, being fourth generation, I had that right as a nipper, so it went completely through my body very, very quickly. But you're right. I mean, Tim, when I was on American Hammers with him, said the exact same thing. I was following West Ham on a regular basis in the 2003-2004 season when we lost to Palace in the playoff final. That's the same season that Tim started watching West Ham as well.
Yeah.
So we've got that. It's good that we've got that sort of level. But the funny thing is that obviously we've got to crack on a little bit. But the funny thing is when I hear Americans talk about football, I just think of Robin Williams when he used to talk about it in his stand-up, where he said, "Football, that's a game without pads, right?" Because that's pretty much what Americans think of it.
So my mate Pete, his son plays rugby, and he also played American football in high school. And he said, "Oh yeah, that's girls. It's girls rugby because you get to wear pads."
Yeah, agreed, 100%. You know, no Englishman's going to disagree with that statement. So, ever since, obviously, we've been at the ground for this is going to be our third season coming into it now. I know before you said when we were talking before we went live was about you coming over to London. You mentioned it a couple of times now. Have you been over to the London stadiums over the last couple of years?
Quite a few times. I've got quite a few friends who. There's actually a gentleman who lives in Philadelphia who has season tickets. So if I'm coming over, I just phone up, saying, "Hey, if you're not going, can I get your tickets?" And I've gotten his tickets every time. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to admit that or not. We transfer them legally, West Ham. We're fine. Yeah, I've been over for quite a bit.
Don't worry, I'm not affiliated with the club in any shape.
No. I'm taking the piss on myself. I've been over quite a bit. I got to watch Jamie Vardy, stand up in front of us and salute us when Leicester beat us. I was there for our first win against Huddersfield in Slavs last season. We beat Huddersfield 2-0 on a Monday night. Best part of that game is another West Ham fan was drunk and celebrating, and he decided he needed to punch somebody. So he punched me. It's like, what are you doing? I'm cheering for the same bloody club. His friends took him off. I was there this year. I watched Chelsea when we drew 0-0. I actually got out to Cardiff for the debacle in Wales. What an awful match that was. And then I was there for Huddersfield at home when we beat them 4-3. It was madness. I was in the. Where are your tickets? Are you in which part of the stadium are you in?
Bobby Moore Lower, block 152-341.
You're not far from where I was. I'm a little ways behind where Baz usually is.
Well, he's literally a stone throw from me. So yeah, it's funny that, isn't it? We're all seem to be in the same sort of area. Nobody knows each other.
We'll see you at Man U then. I've got my ticket for Man U at home already, and I got a ticket for Bournemouth away already. So
yes,
no,
mate,
I'll be there.
It'd be great to
madness.
have an English version of American beer at the ground with you. But not a problem. Because I hate the beer that they serve at the ground. It's awful stuff.
I don't drink the beer at the ground anymore. I've given up. It just bothers me. It's warm, it's expensive, and it doesn't taste good.
Yeah, it's like being at a baseball match, isn't it? Talking of West, obviously, we've got the new season coming, but I want to get your thoughts from somebody who's kind of seen the club from both sides of the pond in the same sort of season, I guess is probably the best way to put it. What are your thoughts on Pellegrini's first season in charge?
Man, I've answered this question a couple times. I always change my answer. I'm satisfied with what Pellegrini did this year. He was able to deliver some better football. One of the things he did is he certainly improved the quality of our recruiting. His name certainly helped. I mean, Diop, Balbuena, Arnautovic, Anderson, and even Wilshire, bring them in. That was good work. I mean, he really cleaned up. Fredericks as well. One of the things I always said for the year before is our defenders just leaked too many goals. And I don't think Ogbonna is a bad player. I think Reed probably is not as good as he used to be. So we needed the refreshing in the center back. Having Zabaleta and Fredericks on the right side was good. I struggle with the left back position. I was really excited to see the quality of the football. There would be times where I was just amazed at how good we played. The Liverpool match where we drew them 1-1, which we should have won 1-0. That really showed me that they could really play well. But on the other hand, you have matches like Cardiff where we shit the bed, and one of the not the Watford away, but the Watford at home where we looked terrible. The first 4 matches of the season we lost. It was hard, but he turned it around. We're starting to find out he had a little bit more troubles in the dressing room to deal with. Now, Arnautovic was clearly a problem. I was surprised when he brought in Nasri because I thought Nasri would be a problem, and my understanding is he was. He didn't have a deep squad, We have certainly a much deeper squad this year, I think.
But it still needs
I
to be
think
a lot deeper. Still needs to be a lot deeper.
we're certainly not going to challenge the world. I think I've put my. I think
Scott,
Man U
hang
is
on,
in a bit of turmoil
Scott,
right now.
Scott, sorry, you froze there, mate. Do you want to repeat yourself?
Nope, no worries. Got me. Am I back?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Sorry about that. Man U is in a bit of turmoil. Arsenal's in turmoil. Chelsea, who knows what they're going to look like under Lampard this year? By the way, I'm one of the people who's actually except against us and not against us in the table. Kind of hoping Lampard does well. I quite like Frank. We're not going to challenge Liverpool. We're not going to challenge Man City. But it's time for us to step beyond those clubs that are at 7 through 13. We should differentiate ourselves this year. So we should be much better. So speaking back to your question, I gave Pellegrini a good to fair rating for the season. I thought he delivered us into 10th place. Not good enough, but not terrible. We never really dealt with relegation, which I think that was my first goal. I didn't want to worry about being relegated this year. And I think this year, look, if we don't finish between 6th and 8th, I think the year's a waste. That's me. I want to win a trophy, and I want to see us try and get into Europe.
So is that what you're thinking for this coming season?
Six, somewhere between positions 6 and 8, 6, 7, 8. I would be happy with. We were joking the other night on one of the broadcasts. Who is going to be the first player to be injured? We've had a terrible injury record. All it takes is for Fornals to go down, or Anderson to go down, or Haller, if we get him, to go down. And suddenly, we're back in that place with we'll makeshift our lineup. We'll take a guy who's not a striker like Antonio and play him up front in the middle.
But it's never been a bad shout at the same time. And obviously, everybody's loving and still loving him. 5-6 years later, when Ravel Morrison was our false number 9 against Spurs, and he's been an icon. He's an icon as a result of that. But I know what you mean. But mate, I can't see a top 8. I really can't, unless the reason being is we've let go 2 centre forwards at the minute. There's a possibility we're gonna get rid of a third if we get who we're going to talk about in a minute, and also possibly one other, because apparently Hernandez has been promised to be sold this window, so that's going to be interesting. So the attack. I mean, don't get me wrong. We've got Zande Silva, who's been setting it relatively alight in the juniors, but he's had a terrible few months. Not just
yes, he has
performances. He's had a bereavement recently. He's been in hospital. X was confirming as well. Where everyone's. I mean, obviously, if anybody from the Silva family is watching over in Portugal, wish him all the very best. But as I say, we as an attacking line, we've got Hernandez, which, let's face it, is a centre forward from the bench only. And that's it as it stands at the minute. Well, obviously Hugill, but again, we'll come on to talk to him about in a minute. But
he's going to Madrid. We've already decided. Hugill to Madrid. We've already decided.
So our attacking options aren't strong enough as it stands at the moment for purely a natural finisher. Yes, we've got attacking options in Antonio, as you said, and Anderson, and potentially Fornals if his reputation precedes him. And everything else, but I mean, for me personally, I'm going to do a roundup in a few weeks' time anyway, once the summer transfer window closes. But to mirror what Pellegrini said earlier today, which we might as well just talk about now, funny enough, because we're coming on to the Asia Trophy, because obviously the game is tomorrow, which, by the way, apparently for those watching in the UK, it is being broadcast at 1:15 on Sky Sports, which will make it, where are we? 10, 11, where are we? 5 hours, blah, 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 blah. It'll be make it 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, which you probably get it on NBC, I guess, or possibly Fox, whatever.
Actually, probably the preseason stuff is primarily coming through on ESPN3 here. NBC didn't get the rights to anything except for Premier League right now.
Okay, cool. Thanks for the update, mate. But yeah, as Pellegrini said in his in his pre-match interview today. I think that's a bit stupid when you got cups that don't really mean anything. But one of the things he said is next season's target is to improve. He has a set of positional target in it. He just because he says he never does at the start of the season. He sets them once he realizes what could potentially happen, which is a great managerial way of thinking. But
Yeah.
he just he said that the next season he wants to improve. And to be honest with you, it's not a bad shout because he's not putting any pressure on the players. He's not putting any pressure in any shape or form on himself. For me personally, an improvement is finishing 8th or 9th. I'd be very surprised if we get anything higher than 9th.
And I can't argue with that, John. I think there is. I think you've hit on something really critical there. Pellegrini is managing this team in a couple of different ways. He's trying to harvest better players. Frankly, he's trying to get rid of some problem children he's got. Having Andy Carroll move on was good. Having Nasri move on was good. As much as I'm a fan of Adrian, having that salary ride the bench was not good for us. So he's got rid of that. So he's managing the money. He's managing the board. And he's also managing the expectations out to the fans. But while at the same time, he's managing inwards to the players so they know his expectations and what he can do with them. I think you're right on. He's not putting pressure on the club. That pressure is going to come from the fans, and I think he will feel that a bit if the results don't come through. But I think I think most of the fans are pretty realistic. I think that you're right. If we 8th or 9th won't kill us, I'm being more hopeful.
I'd say, to be honest with you, I think bearing in mind how last season went, the signings that we did last season, the potential signings that hopefully are going to be coming through the door within next couple of days, which we'll talk about. I think a lot of our supporters over the age of 21 that don't live on Twitter have actually matured quite a fair bit over the last 12 months because we've hardly got any reason, bar footballing reasons itself, which you always have every season, we've hardly got any reason to be angry. And the reason being is because David Sullivan and all the Sullivans have shut up. Jack Sullivan is only talking about the women's team because that's what his job is now. The Gonzo from Hammer's Chat, when he did this chat, the forum video earlier today, was absolutely spot on. Where he said that Pellegrini and Hugill don't like to get stuff leaked. Now, because all the news of players over the last 12 months that we've been linked to and signing have all come, with the exception of Claret and Hugh, have all come from international newspapers. Every single one of them, and with the exception of what's his name now? Roberto. We didn't know anything about that. That just popped up overnight. Nobody
nobody had any clue.
And I mean, for some stupid reason, we're still linked with another goalkeeper. But I just ignore that stuff. But we have hardly anything to complain about. And this is what's killing a lot of people on Twitter, is because we don't know what's going on, and for bloody good reason we don't know what's going on, because we're getting deals like Haller that only really came out about literally a week ago, because it's Tuesday night. It literally came out a week ago that all of a sudden wants the Gomez stuff, which I've said on numerous times, mostly on my Twitter account. When the Gomez, I've said for weeks and in the few videos that Gomez wasn't going to happen, but I said a lot of times on my tweets, I think Scott, I think you and I talked about it a couple of times as well, that something was going on in the background. And I was proven right. The Haller deal came from outside absolutely nowhere, which again, guys, I'm not ignoring the chat. And a lot of you guys are talking about Haller, but we're going to get to it in a minute. I promise. I really promise. But because I just want to concentrate more on the Asia Cup as it stands at the minute. Now, one of the things that I like to do is when we come up to teams, I like to find out a bit more information about them. And when I do my preview videos, I use a website, a very, very reliable website called physioroom.com. Their information about injuries to players is usually about a day or a day and a half, give or take, out of date, but they are very, very good. And for the first time since I've ever gone on physioroom.com, I've been using it for a while, we have no injuries, with none, zip, nada, nothing. It's brilliant. I loved it looking at that the other day. And I checked it again this morning. We've got no injuries. Everybody is fit. I don't remember that.
Are you sure? Are you sure you were checking West Ham? Are you sure you were checking West Ham? Because, well, I mean, we had last night. We did a transfer roundup, and then I asked the question, who would be the first person to be injured? And myself and Jeremiah Carson, who was on with me, we had our ideas. The best part was somebody clicked in right away and said Andy Carroll, retroactively to last year, he'll be our first injury this year. So if Andy's our first injury, I'm fine with that.
Well, he's still training with the club apparently, so it's a distinct possibility. Neil,
they're never going to sign him. They're never going to sign him.
Neil Shogun is saying that it's going to be it's pronounced Allah. So yeah, apologies. Even though he plays over in the German league, he's French. So yeah, it's Allah. I'm not going to put that in the tags because that could get me in a bit of trouble. But I'm say with City's injuries, they've only got Mendy, Fernandinho, and Bravo, which is basically the same injuries they had at the end of the season just gone. So it's like we're looking at a very, very fit team going against a very, very difficult team in Man City. Even though their flight was delayed by 2 days, they've still got enough quality to absolutely tear us a new one. Talking of which, Zabaleta came out with the news we all thought we were going to hear, that he's going to finish the season next season. He's going to he hasn't said he's going to retire, and he hasn't said he's going to quit football, but he's not going to be playing football in England anymore. So it's a real shame because I've loved the guy since we got him. Was it 3 years ago now? And it's going to be a shame. And also likewise with us getting rid of another right back, which we'll go into in a minute as well. So at the start of basically at this time next year, we're going to only have one right back. So there's a lot of pressure coming for Fredericks for this coming season. I mean, Scott, what are your thoughts on Pablo Zabaleta?
Well, number one, I think he's a consummate professional, and I love the energy he brings to the club. I love the fact that he is. There's times where you see his emotions and his heart on his sleeve, and he runs his backside off. Downside is that his legs, in all fairness, he's not as fast as he once was, and he got caught out a few times last year. I was really excited to have him around for another year to kind of coach maybe Fredericks a bit, but also if we can get Ben Johnson to spend a year working one-on-one with Pablo Zabaleta, what better coach in the world could you imagine for a young right back than somebody with that pedigree and that number of trophies and that skill and that insight for the game? I mean, there's a man who's going to go off and coach. Let's take care of it for a year. For a year, let's have Pablo actually coach Ben Johnson. I love Pablo Zabaleta. He's I'd love
him to do that. Absolutely, I would love him to do that 100%, mate, and actually come into the junior, educating the juniors up, and then get him into the first team. So I think that would be fantastic coaching shout. Charlie from Hammers Chat, yes, mate. What about Creswell? Creswell was taken out to Asia, and even Pellegrini himself said everybody is 100% fit. So yes, you're absolutely right, mate. He did have a knock about the other day for the first pre-season friendly, but apparently all sources are saying that he is 100% fit. That's even come out of Pellegrini's mouth. I don't think nobody's 100% fit, but he's obviously fit enough to at least play some form of football. Jim Stebbins, even I will tweet I'll DM you the link, mate, if you want, to physioroom.com. It's a very, very good thing. Now, the good website to go to. The one final thing before we get onto the meat and bones of this video is obviously there was a team photos gone out. Now,
you were talking about that today.
Now, this is a bit of a bizarre one, right? Because even though it's exactly the same amount of people that are the same players that are out that was listed on the website a couple of days ago. So basically, if you haven't seen the photo, I'll describe it person by person. Starting off in the top right-hand corner is Mikel Antonio, and then we've got Ogbonna and Ben Johnson and Anderson making up the apparently looking like the tallest people out of them, which I know one of them isn't. Then the next line we've got is Snodgrass, Roberto, Alan Yarmolenko. Now this is where it gets a little bit strange. we've got Fabianski, Gap, Grady Diangana, and what is that? It looks like Ogbonna at the back there.
I think it's Ogbonna.
Yeah, and then we've got Fredericks, Lanzini, Creswell, Hernandez, Reed, and Wilshire as well. And then at the front, starting from the bottom left, we've got Noble standing in front of Diop, Sanchez, Josh Cullen, Pablo Zabaleta, Pellegrini, Declan Rice, and the backroom staff with Hustelos right in the corner as well. Now, the interesting thing is that looking at that photograph, even though we talked about it earlier today, Scott, looking at it again, it's still there's that gap. I kind of get the idea that there was somebody meant to be in between Brady and Snoddy. Because there's no logical reason for that massive gap in between the two of them. It looks like it was rehearsed, and then somebody wasn't meant to be there. It's a bit weird, but that's the funny thing, is that the list of every single player matches what's on the website. So it's very, very, very strange.
The only thing I can think of right now, they have 2 slots left for the Asia Cup. They've got 2 positions they can fill yet, and I don't know if they will or not. I was really surprised Nathan Holland didn't go with them out to China. I don't understand that one. I mean, he scored today. They won 2-1. The under 23s or whatever they are won 2-1 in an exhibition match.
That's right. And Reece Oxford got a mention. I think he scored a goal in there as well. So two of the players that everybody was expecting to go out.
He didn't. Reece didn't score, but he crushed the ball and barely went over the net. Apparently, it was just the way it was described to me on Twitter was like he got every ounce of his leg into that ball, and if it would have been if it would have hit the keeper, probably would have hurt him. So, like an amazing shot. It was Holland and I was going to say Pask, but it isn't Pask. Anyways, they won 2-1. I was surprised Hall didn't go. I kind of wonder if, like you said, it was a pre-arranged setup. This is where you're supposed to stand. Go to your spot. Never went to the spot, and there's a hole there. I wonder if Nathan Holland was supposed to be in that hole, and Pellegrini just decided, nope, not this time.
Very possibly, mate. Very possibly. Right. Meat and potatoes time of the video. Okay.
We're going to talk about the transfer for who did Sam Byram? We're going to talk about the Byram transfer, aren't we?
You tried to crack the joke there, mate, and it backfired on you spectacularly.
Yeah.
As everybody will know from X's updates and pretty much everybody else on YouTube today and this evening, that 25-year-old right-footed 6'3" French forward Sebastian Haller, thank you, Jim, is in the process of having his medical after the fee was agreed with Frankfurt. Now, if anybody doesn't know this player, apart from those who watch and even some of you guys might not even know this information, Haller broke through to the AJ Auxerre team into the 2012-2013 season. Made 57 appearances in total for the club, scoring 8 goals and 3 assists. So sounds like a West Ham signing, but this is when he's very, very young. He was on loan from January to May 2015 at Utrecht, and then permanently moved there for 675,000 in July of 2015. He made 98 appearances in all competitions, scoring 51 goals and 17 assists. When Frankfurt bought him in July 2017, they paid £6.3 million. I think that's about probably 8-9 million euros, where he made 77 appearances for Frankfurt with 33 goals and 19 assists in 2 years. It works out basically a goal every 2.3 appearances. Not only that, this might make you laugh when I read this out, Scott, because it did make me laugh when I found this out. In total, as a seasoned professional, an adult professional, I should say, he's made 232 appearances for all 3 clubs, scoring 92 goals and assisting.
Wow.
And assisting 39, which is an average of a goal every 2.5 games, which is exactly the same goal ratio as Carlton Cole.
Oh, there we go. Well, obviously, we should bring Carl. We should definitely bring Carlton back as our backup striker. I mean,
obviously, Carlton Cole was 31 when he retired, but you know, it was brilliant. It was so funny. But Carlton Cole was his average for us was 2.5 goal every 2.5 games. But also, Haller has had 10 appearances in the Europa League, scoring 5 and with 3 assists last season. He's also was also the Bundesliga top scorer in the 15-16 season with Utrecht, and also won the German Cup last season in Frankfurt. Now, as great as that sounds, I'm reading all this information. Stats only tell you half the story, but the information that that I'm a little bit worried about, but I'm loving at the same point. I'm a bit conflicted about this. His injury record is practically nothing. In last season, he was out for 8 games with an abdominal strain from the 1st of April to the 6th of May, and the season beforehand, he was out for 10 days in November, missing no games with dental surgery. Not really sure.
That's interesting because I was ready for you to say, he had an ankle or a tweak to a knee or something. The fact that he hasn't missed a game due to a leg, that's really exciting. I mean, look at what we've gone through. Look at Lanzini. I mean, blew a knee out, training with Argentina. Jack Wilshere, his ankles are legendary. I'm always worried about guys getting something going wrong with their leg. If their leg's in great shape, the rest of their body, you can heal quickly. Your legs in football are what keep you going. So exactly. That's great to hear.
Just to reiterate, guys, this guy has had 232 professional senior appearances at club level. I didn't go into his international career because there's just too much in there, to be honest with you. Scoring 92 goals, assisting 39, and has only been out for about 2 months. And he's 25 years old. This guy, on paper, he sounds absolutely spectacular. Now, obviously, the fee has been Frankfurt confirmed earlier today that the fee had been agreed, which is working out to be 45 million euros, which works out to be 40.5 million pounds. So again, for the second season in a row, and actually no, it's 3 signings in potential 3 signings in 2 transfer windows. We are smashing the transfer record. He's hitting it again, plus 5 million with add-ons as well, in which is going to be paid in staggered installments, but 3/4 of it, which is basically, if I remember correctly, is around about 30 million pounds being paid up front. Now, if he passes his medical, it looks like he's going to be on 70 grand a week, so a lot lower than we all thought he was going to get. Possibly the reason why, because we threw stupid wages at Maxi Gomez. We thought everybody thought they were going to do this. We're going to do the same thing for him.
Yeah.
Potentially he could be signing on what looks like a 5-year deal with a I'm guessing we're going to put in a extension, because we've been doing that a lot lately, for possibly 1 or 2 years. So the only snag about this, because I want to be as balanced as possible. Even I can't wait to see this guy. I really want to see him in a Hammer shirt tomorrow. But X confirmed earlier today that Inter Milan were putting in a last-minute bid, and that was as of lunchtime today. So basically, Scott, when you were still asleep.
I don't sleep, mate. X and I talk in the middle of his night and the middle of my night. We're fine. So I have a couple updates for you then, because he has passed his medical.
Oh,
he did pass it.
Now, which account? Because the fake ex-West Ham employee put that up, not the real one.
I pinged X. X has said that he has passed his account. He has passed his physical.
Wonderful, because I've been checking my phone all night and I haven't seen him tweet about it, but he's probably saving it for tomorrow because it's the podcast.
The other thing is that the other two clubs that were possibly going to come in for him, those turned out to be false leads. It turns out that Inter Milan and somebody else was going to come in for him. They didn't. Now, the expectation I got, and this is from talking with Sean, or watching Sean's comments today, was that they expect him to be announced tomorrow.
Yeah, that's what everyone's thinking. So, guys, get ready. I'm gonna, hopefully my Wi-Fi at work's going to be much more reliable than it was today. And once the news is broken, I'll be able to put that video straight up for you. The added advantage of having a GoPro on you the entire time, I can just absolutely blitz it from that side of things. Now,
I'll expect a phone call from you, though. I'll give you my phone number right after you call me when the announcement's made.
I'll be able to get away with it because we phone people all over the world. It's not a problem. But the interesting thing is now, obviously, there was talk about him when his first debut is going to be. Now it's not going to be the Asia Cup because A, there's not enough time, and B, even if there was enough time, it takes 2 weeks for a visa to be sorted out so that by the time that happens, they'll all be back. So that it could potentially be either he could make his debut with Fornals in the Fulham away game, or it could be the game on the following Wednesday against Hertha Berlin. So it's going to be Berlin, Germany, not East London. He's potentially going to be making his debut in one of those two games. I'm hoping it's going to be Fulham because I'm going to that game. I'm taking my GoPro with me, and I'm going to try and vlog it. It's probably going to be awful footage, but I'm going to try it. So I'm hoping that I'll be able to get something decent because my ticket where I'm booked is right at the front as well. So it could be very interesting.
And that's a nice tight little ground. So if you're at the front, you should be able to get a good look at him. My gut feeling is you're right. I think assuming this all goes through 2 weeks for the visa, assuming that he shows up in a shirt tomorrow, he plays at Fulham.
So going on the information I've given about, I know you've touched on it briefly just then, but going on the information I've done, they've got to be as balanced as possible. What are you thinking about him now?
So based on everything I've been able to read and getting private messages from a couple of people on, I think it's done. I think that tomorrow he shows up in a West Ham shirt, preferably in a red home shirt with a big logo on the front of it. It says, we see him sign, and he comes in and revolutionizes the front of our attack. There was a gentleman who did an overlay on the strength of play and strength of skill earlier on today on Twitter. And forgive me, the gentleman who did it, you did a fabulous job. I'm just cramping on your name, but he did an overlay of this person, of Haller's skills versus Mugo Arnautovic, and he actually has slightly better skills, a bit more speed. The one thing I liked, and this comes from talking a little bit with Nick and with Tony from American West Ham podcast, he's also not the kind of guy who flings his hands in the air if the pass isn't where he expected it. I think he's got a bit more of a team player mentality rather than a me first mentality. I think that suits us. We're going to talk more about other transfers. If Pellegrini decides to play two up front, he's really good at hold up play, and that's frankly what Chicharito needs. Chicharito needs a hold up man who can get in there, and he's 6'3". He's a big lad. He can rifle the ball, and there's a lot of times where I've seen pictures of the shots that I looked on today of some of his play where the keeper had a hard time handling the ball from the strength of his strike. That's exactly where Chicharito excels. So I think he's a great fit. I think he fits in with Pellegrini's game plan. I think it'll be really fun to watch him with Fornals and Anderson, and I think he ends up playing we ended up playing a 4-2-3-1 with Anderson, Fornals out on the wings, and Lanzini in the middle, and he's playing in front of them. I think there's a lot of chance there. And then if we get in a place where we need to score a goal, you swap off one of your CDMs and you bring in Chicharito. That could be a great teamwork setup for these guys. Now, I know we're going to talk more about other transfers here in a bit. I'm excited about the idea of this guy getting on the pitch and wearing the claret and blue. I think there's goals in those shoes, and that's what we need.
Definitely, and it's been well documented over the last few days from quite a few different sources that he's interested in the project, which I'm guessing Pellegrini said said to him, or Hugill or Sullivan, one of the three, would have said to him at some point that we want you to come in and get us into Europe, because I guarantee that's what the hook was.
For a player at his level, the money's great. These guys do have short careers, but the ability to get into Europe has to drive him. And I love the fact that you brought up the project, John. That, to me, that's how we got Anderson, and that's how we got Fornals as well. Anderson Fornals could have played a couple other places. And I don't know how much you've seen from some of the tweets from other clubs about holy crap, how did West Ham United get Fornals? He should never have gone to West Ham. He should be at Tottenham or Man U or Liverpool or whatever. I really think that Mr. Pellegrini has done a great job of creating a project, interesting people in it, and selling it very well. And this, should we see Sebastian Haller in a West Ham kit tomorrow? I think that is the sales job that Manuel Pellegrini has done to get people to our club and to move us next level, however you want to call it, move us up, make us better, make us more complete.
Definitely, mate. Now, the one interesting thing that I was seeing today from Dan from West Ham Fan TV, I haven't seen this confirmed yet, but again, he's a person that I would trust. That apparently there's a talk of having a Champions League release clause put into his contract, yep. which shows, again, kind of backs up what I literally just said. That it was he's been brought in to get into Europe, whether it's with us or it's going to be another club in a year or so's time. It's very, very good. Now, Jim, you're absolutely right, mate. Don't worry, I've been keeping an eye out. Now, Jim Stubbins is actually put in because of all this talk with Allah. Or are we going to call him Allah the Hammer? That'd be interesting to find out. Jim's come up with quite a couple of decent formations here. He stated 4-5-1 or 4-2-3-1, then Haller in the middle. He's also confirmed his team sheet, which is basically Fabianski, Fredericks, Diop, Balbuena, Masuaku, Rice, Wilshere, Anderson, Haller, Fornals, and Chicharito in either 4-2-3-1 or 4-1-3-2 setup. Jason has also said 4-3-3. Fabianski, Fredericks, Balbuena, Diop, Masuaku, Rice, Wilshere, Lanzini, Antonio, Anderson, and Haller for the first Premier League game, so basically against City at home. Charlie Walsh.
Well, that really fits the attacking style that Pellegrini is talking about. I mean, those are aggressive lineups.
Definitely. Charlie Walsh is confirmed again, 4-3-3. Fabianski, Fredericks, Diop, Balbuena, Masuaku, Rice, Wilshere, Lanzini, Yarmolenko, Haller, and Anderson. So, do you know what? I am loving those ideas. You're absolutely right, mate. There's a lot of thought in these guys have put in, and yes, it seems to match his intent a lot. And as I say, I can't wait to see him play. Again with Fornals, if his reputation precedes him and is correct, I can't wait to see these two. I really, really can't.
I'm with you. And shout out to Charlie. Hello, Charlie. Good to hear from you again, buddy. These are great lineups, and they're Pellegrini lineups. Listen, you see all the silliness on Twitter and social media about, we should, go back to, there was somebody who's actually advocating we should go back to Sam Allardyce today. And we lost 4 games at the beginning of the season last year. People are like, the same old West Ham. We've got to go find a defensive-minded coach. That is not what Pellegrini is bringing to us. Pellegrini is bringing firepower this year. Yeah. I'm excited. We're gonna let in a whole lot of goals, but we're gonna score more.
X has just tweeted literally in the last 4 minutes saying medical is done. Yes, deal still to be finalised, but it's very close. Gonzo was right. It does feel like Christmas Eve. It really does feel like Christmas Eve.
It does, doesn't it? Now, what you should really do is tweet back to X and ask him how dinner was, because I don't know if you know this. His wife made him take it.
I know. Yeah, I saw it.
Yes. So we should all ask him how dinner is.
By the way, right now.
And by the way, X, if you watch this, I can't wait to see you in Vegas along with Dave and Baz. That's going to be fun. They are, for those of you who are watching your channel who don't know, there's a West Ham event in Las Vegas on August 16th, 17th, and X and Dave are coming out, and Baz Cox is coming out as well. So it'll be a get-together in Vegas during the season.
That's for the Brighton away game, if I remember correctly, isn't it?
That is the Brighton away game. We're raising money for Isla, which speaks to my soul a lot. I've got the wristband on. I love Isla. Princess, if any of your family's watching, we love you. We hope you're doing well today. Aller excites me, but we have other business. We have other business to do. We need to cover the Sam Byram trade.
Exactly. Now this is the thing. Again, we'll talk about that in a moment, mate. But when I said earlier that we should really be bringing in another striker. Now, I've obviously mentioned the players in the past as well. We're still linked with Musa Marega. We're still linked with Rondon, even though it's pretty much nailed on that it's he's going to go to China. Now, there's also we also found out earlier today that we lost out for Belotti because apparently his team, I can't remember who he is for the minute, but he has €100 million price tag on his head. Now, that to me, I've mentioned many times before, not just on this channel, but in conversations with mates. I mean, I even mentioned, I think me and Charlie might have spoken about it, actually. I think, Charlie, if you're still watching, remind me if we did talk about it. Like that, this is a hands-off price tag. Just like there was a hands-off price tag when Torres went to Chelsea from Liverpool for 50 million pounds, because Liverpool didn't want to get rid of him. And I've said it numerous times beforehand. If teams are that, I guarantee the chairman are thinking, if teams are that stupid to pay that amount of money, they're welcome to him, so we can go out and get 2 or 3 players. That is exactly what Belotti's manager and chairman are thinking.
No, I'm with you. I mean, there's stupid amount of money here. $100 million is a piss off. Don't bother us. Like, don't even bother asking. So Belotti's out.
So,
but while we're here, do you know if Balotelli has ended it anywhere yet? I haven't seen anything about Balotelli yet.
No. This. I wasn't going to do a rant on this video, but this is
no. Rant away, please. I live for the rants.
Okay, because yes, X confirmed that he was offered to the club. Pellegrini apparently turned it straight down because he wants, as we talked about earlier, mate, he wants a team player involved in the squad. Now, and Balotelli is a very, very talented footballer. Don't get me wrong. He's the wrong age. He's got the wrong attitude for a lot of things. He would, yes, he could be the next Di Canio if we brought him in, but it's never, ever going to happen while we have a manager that wants decent players over flash players.
This is totally cool. This is as good as when I bugged Tim Melican from American Hammers TV about Mitrovic. I appreciate the passion. The only reason why I think about Balotelli is, and this goes back to your conversation earlier on. Arnie's gone, Perez is gone. Jordan Hugill, if you see this, dude, I think you're a lovely young man. You have a great heart. I'm not sure that he fits the system that Pellegrini wants to go, and I suspect he's going to go. So that really does leave us right now with Haller if he signs, and with Chicharito, and Antonio as a makeshift forward. I think we do need one more center forward, or one more true striker. Balotelli would fit that role, but even when I'm a bit jesting about Balotelli, like I understand there was a lot of crap in the clubhouse last year with the players, with certain players, and you can go online and read that if you want to read about Arnautovic and maybe Nasri as well. We don't need that. I think we've all had enough of it as fans. I'm pretty sure the rest of the players have had enough. So, and I'm kind of hoping that somebody like Noble or somebody like Zabaleta is in conversation with the management when they're looking to sign people, going, "What are you, crazy? Don't sign this guy. He's going to blow up the room." And with that in mind, I mean, I do think Hugill will go. I don't think we'll get a lot of money for him. I think he's going to move on. I don't. It was reported that we had a deal in place with Preston North End for him to go, but he balked because they were going to make him take a wage cut. I understand that. I don't think poorly of Hugill for this.
Right. If this is his payday on this, Scott, if I can just interject, mate, because that there's been conflicting reports about Hugill. Because Preston North End came out and said, no, we're not in advanced talks. We haven't even talked to the club about him yet.
Okay. Thank you.
Also, so where that £4.5 to £5 million rumour came from is just a rumour. Who bloody knows? X is confirmed, of course, yes, because that Preston is his number one team to go back to. Of course, at the end of the day, he had a very good career there with them, and obviously wants to go back to them because, let's face it, he was never a Premier League player. On God rest his soul. I really feel for him because he was a token player. You know, everybody said everyone. You know, it was a Sullivan Moyes agreement that everyone wants a striker. Let's get a striker. Oh, I know. I'll speak to my brother-in-law. And that side of it, and then and I feel really sorry for the bloke. But what apparently has happened is that Wigan have put in a bid that apparently has been accepted, and it's Wigan that he turned down because they were offering him 18 grand a week when he's currently on 35 grand a week. Now that my level of respect for him has dwindled reading that, because at the end of the end of the day he was on championship wages when we bought him. And championship teams want to get him back into that league, so he's going to have to accept. Championship wages. Now the interesting thing is there's unconfirmed reports about this as well. I mean, the website I read it from is not 100% accurate, but sometimes every now and again they get stuff spot on, albeit 3 or 4 hours later than everyone else knows about it. Which I'm not going to mention the name of it, but there are reports apparently that we're going to pay out his contract. We're going to basically pay him.
That would surprise me.
That would worry me. That would really, really worry me, and I'll tell you why. Because at the end of the day, regardless of what Sky Sports have said, that we've sold Sam Byram to Norwich on a fee of £750,000, not 750 million that idiot said live on the Transfer News video. Twonk. I mean, how can you get 1,000 mixed up with million? And then,
hey, if you get a couple of glasses of wine in me, I can make things different. I can change numbers too.
But Sam Byram signed a 4-year deal with Norwich. Now, if I remember, so to say, that's £750,000 in there. Because obviously if Hugill goes for the round about 4 to 5 million, whatever is going to be agreed, then there's that couple of bits as well. Reece Oxford is linked to either be going out on loan to either Swansea or Fulham, or potentially back to Augsburg on a permanent deal for around about £2.5 million. Now, if those deals go through if those 2 deals go through, because obviously the Byron thing's been confirmed, that leaves us with £5 to £6 million to play with.
Well, and there's one other. There's a report coming out of Italy that
OBA
for somewhere between 8 and 11 million. And you know what? I don't know if I ever get a chance to say this again, and I'd love to meet him today. I want to give a shout out to Pedro Obiang. Here's a guy who's wanted to go back home for a couple of years. It's well known. He hasn't bitched. He hasn't moaned. I haven't heard anything about him being a problem in the clubhouse. He practices hard when he gets out there. Sometimes he doesn't have the greatest game, to be fair, but he's never sulked. He's never said, "I'm not going to play for you." Now, he doesn't have the power that Mugo Arnautovic had, but he did it right, and he's going to probably get his wish. And that's, you know what? If he does, hats off to him. Best of luck to you, lad.
Yeah, I mean, so I'm just looking at it now. There's the Obiang was apparently there's been a bid come in from where?
I saw the name. I saw the name of the club
for Sassuolo, I think you pronounce it, or
that's it.
Sassuolo if you're Phil Collins, for 9 million euros, which works out to be just over £8 million. So yes, you weren't that far off with it, mate. So yes, if you're absolutely right. I mean, Obiang is as a fan from a fan point of view, he's always going to be remembered for that goal against Spurs. That beautiful goal against Wembley. He's going to always be remembered for that. But yes, he's not to the level that we require him to be, unfortunately. And also, and it's painful that you see somebody who has such glimpses of potential. And same thing with Byram. I'm sad to see Byram go from one point of view, because at the end of the day, when he played in that pre-season friendly, he looked lethal. He looked like, I've got a statement to make here, and obviously that wasn't good enough. But it's the same reason why I feel sorry for Hugill. It's just the fact that they've come in, they've given their best, and it's just not been good enough. And for the right reasons or the wrong reasons, it breaks my heart. It really does break my heart that.
And I mean, like, think about how far these guys have gotten. Like, Byram and Hugill are. I know Hugill's English. I'm pretty sure Byram's English. He's not Irish. No, he's English.
He is English, yeah.
They would have dreamed about getting to the Premiership as kids, playing football on the pitch, running around with the other kids. They did it. They got there. They got their chance. They played. Were they good enough for the team? I don't know. Byram, I think there's other issues with Byram's play with respect to him being a yellow card magnet that kind of scares me. All I can say is best luck to both of them unless they're playing us. There.
Exactly right, mate. Guys, we're coming towards the end of the video now. So if you've got any questions for Scott, by all means, drop them in. There's a couple.
Well, I have a whole bunch of questions for you. My turn.
I know, but
you've been asking me.
I've got to give the guys. There's a bit of a delay on between the chat and the live stream. So I've got to give them a bit of warning. There are, because right, Charlie's preempted this by the looks of it. Question: would you rather fight 10 duck-sized horses or one horse-sized duck? We need answers.
Thanks, Charlie.
Charlie, mate.
Thanks, Charlie.
Always good to hear from you with your really random questions. For me personally, I would attack 10 duck-sized horses, mate. What you going for, Scott?
Yeah, 10 duck-sized horses. Sure.
One question that isn't in the live chat, but I've from a good mate of mine who is over in Bangkok, because I didn't get the chance to ask the Ulster Hammond when he was on last week. When it comes to Thai curries, mate, are you a red, green, or yellow fan?
I don't do Thai curry. That stuff that does terrible things to my innards. Chicken tikka masala. I can even tell you the restaurant I'm going to in London. They make a great chicken tikka masala, onion bhaji, pompadons, garlic naan, kingfisher. I'm good to go. But the Thai curries, how about this? If I have a Thai curry, you don't want to be near me for a couple of days. I don't want to be near me for a couple of days.
God bless your wife in that case. So yeah. So basically, one other thing I wanted to talk about while we got some questions, hopefully still coming in for more than just Charlie. Yeah. So as it stands with the transfer window, and as I say, it looks like it's 95% done with the Haller deal. What are your thoughts on the transfer window with 3 weeks to go?
Relatively satisfied. I mean, thrilled with Fornals. I will be thrilled with Haller if he comes in. I think we're one striker short, or one experienced striker short. If we could do something about that, that would be awesome. And then it's a case of, hey, are there bargains out there? When I think about bringing in Balbuena last year on nothing, is there a deal like that out there for a right or left back, or a center back as cover? I'm surprised Ogbonna isn't gone. I kind of expected him to be sold this summer. I'm sort of surprised we don't know Josh Cullen's fate at this moment. I thought we would have a better picture of what was going to happen to him. There's some conversations about him going out on loan. He's 23 years old. It's time for him to provide some value back to the club. If that's a sale, I think I'm prepared to accept that now. But overall, I can't complain about Husilios and Pellegrini. Husilios. Brawley Darbin, if you're out there somewhere, I heard you bitched at me yesterday on American West Ham podcast. Husilios, not Husilios. Husilios and Pellegrini are doing, look, they've done a great job. And I think you alluded to this earlier on, John. I mean, they keep it quiet. We don't have, Sullivan or Gold, talking about we're at this place in time with our transfer budget and our transfer window. I think that makes us look more professional. It also gives us a chance to do things like, while we're talking to Maxi Gomez, we've got Sebastian Haller in the wings here, and we're not talking about all of it. We'll just go. I think that excites me. The professionalism of this window has really impressed me.
Mate, to be honest with you, the professionalism of the last 12 months has really, really impressed me. And that comes round to a very, very good question from Stuart Russell. Thank you for asking this, mate. Do you think Pellegrini and I'm going to say Husilos, man. I'm not going into that.
That's okay.
I don't care if he gives me backlash. Do you think Pellegrini and Husilos should be given contract extensions? Scott, you take this question first.
Yes, they should be. A 1-year option by the club should be offered, like a 1-year extension with a 1-year option by the club. He had a 3-year experiment. I like what we're seeing for bringing in people. I like most of what I saw last year. I'm ready to give them another year with a club option for another year.
That's kind of my thinking. Possibly this time next year. Reason being is because that's what the club like to do. Like for example, when they gave Allardyce his extension, I don't think it's going to go down the same lines as it did then. But,
God, I hope not.
But yeah, yes, I honestly think four windows, summer and January respectively, twice. Yes, so far I've been very impressed. See what happens in January. If we need anything to happen, then I don't think anything will, to be honest with you. But if if anything does happen there. But where else Jim Stebbins, do they do a double reveal of Allah and the third kit? That's a very, very good question there, mate. I wouldn't be at all surprised because everybody else is coming out with their second and third kits at the minute. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's going to be the case.
That's brilliant. Actually, I think that would be a very cool thing, and it would cement a vision of who Haller is in our minds with that kit on. So I mean, there's good, Smokey, as you are sometimes called, or Gingerbread on Twitter, dude. I think that's an excellent idea. By the way, if you ever want to read some really interesting insight, read Jim's tweets. I had him look into the whole Socios thing one day. By the time he was done, I'm so done with Socios, it was unbelievable. Man, could he do some research?
Yeah, some of the stuff he's put up on Twitter has been very, very funny. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Very, very intriguing at the same point. Where else? Ben Davis says no, not until the season is over. I'm guessing he's kind of thinking
sure,
same thing as me. Literally, next year. But Ben Davis is also asking. You can take this because this is your answer. Probably we'll ask anyway. Tea or coffee?
Depends on the time of day. I'm a tea person in the evening and a coffee person in the morning. I grew up drinking tea. My mom and dad are. My mom's Mennonite. They were too poor for coffee when they were growing up, so my mom learned to drink tea, and I did too.
I don't drink either unless I'm very hungover. To be honest with you, I'm one of the few Englishmen born and raised that can't stand tea or coffee. But if I do have tea, it's Earl Grey because I only really like Earl Grey. Or Twinings do a really, really nice turmeric and orange with tiger anise. I've been drinking that recently. That's very. I can't help it. I'm a healthy man. I can't help it.
We grew up drinking orange pico from Salada, which really? I don't know if any of you will know who that is. That was up in the far. That was up in the far north. That's all we had. So, I grew up in the middle of nowhere. Water, rocks, trees, and moose.
Charlie's asked a very, very good question, as he always puts in, mate. Where are we? Would you rather be a giraffe or a zebra?
Well, I'm short, so I'd be a giraffe because for once I'd be tall. I've got a question for Charlie.
Ready for this, Charlie? Go on, mate. Ask the question.
Charlie, what are you smoking, buddy?
I asked him that when he asked the question to
ask him. Hey, shepherd's pie, or what's the other one? Is it cottage pie?
Cottage pie.
We ask him shepherd or cottage, Charlie.
For me, in case he reverts that back on me, because I haven't answered this yet. For me, it's shepherd's pie, 100%. I'm not really a big fan of cottage pie.
And I'm the reverse. I'm a cottage pie guy. I don't care for shepherd's pie.
Fair enough. Nobody's perfect.
That was a very harsh takedown, John. Hey, I hate to say this to you, but I'm going to have to wrap up here, and because I've got another call. Unfortunately, I have to hop on before I even get out of the airport today. John, This has been fabulous. I've really enjoyed this, and I enjoy the work you've done. I really watched the Dave Walker interview end to end, and then we talked about after that. I've watched bits and pieces of some of the other episodes. They've been great. I want to encourage you, keep doing it. I mean, the more that we have people talking about West Ham, the more we have our fans and our cohorts out there interacting, I think it's nothing but a good thing.
Thank you very much, mate. I really do appreciate it. And likewise, I mean, I've not really had a chance to catch up with the American Hammers TV stuff, but from our conversation, I'm sure your little rants about stuff on the podcast.
I encourage you to watch
very
Wednesday nights. Nick Stamper and I do do Nick and Scott's West Ham Bitch Fest. It's short. It's less than 5 minutes. Watch it and laugh at us trying to have an argument with ourselves in under a minute each.
Okay. Just to wrap this up, mate. Charlie's contradicted himself in the comments there. It's quite funny. He says, mate, so okay, number one, not smoking now. Well, that's a double negative, which means you're smoking something. So he doesn't drink or smoke, which I can absolutely I can completely confirm, because when I met him for the first time properly, he wasn't drinking at all that day. And shepherd's pie, obviously. Now, guys, thank you very much for your time. It's been great. There's been a lot of people watching. The conversation, the chat's gone very, very well. And so, guys, thank you very much for your time watching this and interacting with each other as much as us when we requested you to as well. If you're new around here and you like liking the channel, then by all means hit the subscribe button and hit the notification bell so you get to know when the new videos and live podcast notifications go up as well. Put your comments in the comment section below if you're watching the replay of this. Let me if you've got any questions on this, or when you want to talk about any of the subjects that Scott and I have talked about. Like the video if you feel I deserve it, then by all means click the little like button down the bottom there, and also share this content as well. Just before we wrap this up, as I said earlier, the website is now up and running, so I'm looking for people to add contributions to the website. At this point, it's looking to be blogs. So any blogs you guys want to contact me on, if you want to put some stuff up, I'm more than happy for you to send me anything. Contact me either on Twitter at JPWHUTV or email me at contact@jpwhutv.co.uk. You'll say, because the whole purpose of this channel, which is the reason why videos such as this are done, is because I want interaction with everybody else, not just me, because you guys are watching me, but I want to get contributions from you guys as well. I'm also trying to get people to send me 2-minute videos of their thoughts on West Ham, so I can put up on the channel as well. So Charlie, not nicking the YouTube, your YouTube idea, but I want more people to interact, because obviously, hopefully Ben the Ulster Hammer is going to be joining me on a more regular basis as well for certain things. So in the meantime, guys, thank you very much for your time. If and when the news breaks about Allah tomorrow, you'll see me then. Otherwise, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you soon.